Hi and welcome. This video is part of a complete Terraform course I have available. The link with the big discount is on the description. Make sure to check that out and let's get started. Hello and welcome back. Before we continue, I just want to discuss a little bit with you regarding the costs and the free tier that we are using here with AWS. And why am I making this video? It's because there is a slight change that happened in 2024 when AWS actually started charging for public IP addresses associated with EC2 instances. So if we look here into our free tier on AWS, so I'll just scroll up a little bit, we have a 12-month free. And this has quite a few resources that we can use. We will primarily stay within the free tier during the course. I just want to show you here that there is a 750 hours per month of public IPv4 addresses, regardless of instance type. This was not the case until I believe until February 2024. So just for you to keep in mind that there is also a small charge. I believe it's 0.5 cents or something per IPv4 address per hour. So if you are using many public IPv4 addresses, this can also add up to some costs. However, since this is within the 12-month free tier here, then we are unlikely to incur that, because that basically means that we would have to also work with more than 750 hours of EC2 instances, which we are not going to do in this course. In case you were also curious about the other services, then you can inspect this page here. We also have RDS. We have S3. There are 5 gigs of standard storage that we can use. And we also have some AWS API gateway. We have EBS, so 30 GB of EBS. And we also have here a few other services. If you click and go to the other pages, you will find quite a bit. Within this course, I'll try once again to stay as much within the free tier as possible. However, there might be a few small services that are not included in the free tier, and I will always let you know beforehand so that you don't incur any unwanted costs. That's the first thing I wanted to mention, and I would like to go back to our project and continue with the implementation. Great, so we are here. Let's visit our README, and we have successfully deployed our VPC and subnet. So I'm going to mark this as done. And now maybe I can put that within the number so that it stays as a numbered list. Now let's try to deploy an internet gateway and associate it with the VPC, as well as a route table with a route to the internet gateway. This will make our subnet a public subnet. Okay, so let's come to networking, and we're going to create here a resource, and that's going to be an AWS internet gateway. And we're going to just call this IGW, or we could call main, for example. And then we need to pass a VPC ID. That will be our AWS VPC main.id. Great. So now we have an internet gateway that we can actually use. We can also add here some tags. And we're just going to say here, our name is going to be the 06 resources main and project. So also managed by Terraform, and the project is also this one. We would also like to now create a route table here. So let's say AWS route table, and the route table is going to be a public route table, or we could also say, or just leave the public. And now here we need to pass a VPC ID that's also going to be our VPC main ID, and a route here that is going to map a CIDR block of 0.0.0.0/0 to our gateway ID. So we can pass the gateway here. That's going to be AWS internet gateway.main.id. Perfect. So we have now an internet gateway which enables ingress and egress traffic to the public, or from the public and to the public internet. And we also have a route table that we can now associate with our subnet, so that this internet gateway becomes active for this subnet. So let's do that in the next resource here. And the resource is going to be an AWS route table association. And in case you're wondering why I'm typing the whole thing sometimes and sometimes not. It's because whenever you press enter here with the resource, then VS Code gives you this kind of auto completion. So if it's not appearing for you, you can just delete a little bit and press enter with the resource. So that's going to be AWS route table association. And that's just going to be here public. I'm just going to call it like this, public association or whatever you want. I just want to mark this as public so that I know that this association here is regarding public resources. We're going to pass a subnet ID, and the subnet ID here will be AWS subnet.public.id. And we also need to pass a route table ID. That's just going to be the AWS route table public.id. Great. So let's now format our code so that it's looking a little bit better. And let's plan our changes. Great. As you can see, there are 3 resources to add. This is the route table association. This is the route table as well as the internet gateway. And there are no resources to change and no resources to destroy. Let's then clear the console and run a Terraform apply-auto approve. Since we are fine with the plan, then we don't need to press or type yes here. We can just rely on Terraform's consistent behavior that we know that the plan will always be the same if the resources did not change. As you can see here, it's going to take, or it took just a couple of seconds, even less than a second, I believe, and all the resources were added. Let's now come back to our page here and let's refresh our subnet. We can see here the subnet, and now we can see a route table. Let's click on this route table. And you can see here that this route table does not have a name because we didn't provide any, but it has an explicit subnet association. So if we click here, we can see that it has a route to our internet gateway. And if we click on the internet gateway, we have a name. So let's go back here quickly to our IDE and let's add these tags also to our route table. So we're going to add tags here, and I believe that the route table association doesn't need tags at the moment because it's just a connection between 2 resources. Let's have a look. The tags here, as you can see, is not a supported argument for this route table association. That's because it's not a resource in itself that exists by itself. It is dependent on subnet ID and route table ID. So it doesn't really make sense to talk about tags for an association. Let's delete the block. Let's come back here a little bit more to the top. And now let's run once again a Terraform apply. And now we're going to inspect the plan. And then if everything is fine, we're just going to type yes. As you can see, there is 1 resource to change, right? So if we look here, we can see Terraform uses these squiggly lines here to show what is actually going to change, right? So here there are both tags and tags all. There's no importance in terms of the difference here. We're just looking that Terraform will add these tags for us to the route table resource. Let's now type yes. Once we do that, then things will be properly implemented. And if we come back here to our route table and let's go back once again, and now let's refresh here, we should now see our name populated.